Some of the hardest seasons of your life happen at the exact moment when everybody else disappeared. You lose the relationship, you lose the support, you lose the certainty, you lose the version of your life you thought you were supposed to have. And suddenly you're standing there looking around wondering, who's coming to help me? And what's interesting is, for a lot of us, that answer was nobody. Nobody came. Nobody rescued us. Nobody fixed it. Nobody showed up with all the answers. And I know that sounds painful, because it was. But let me tell you something. The hardest seasons of your life may have been the greatest gift you never wanted. Because the hardest season of your life taught you something that comfort never could. It taught you to trust yourself. Think about that for a second. Before the hardest season of your life, who were you trusting? You trusted other people's opinions. You trusted other people's promises. You trusted other people's validation. You trusted other people's approval. You trusted other people's ability to save you. And then one day life happened. People left. People changed. People disappointed you. People betrayed you. People failed you. Or maybe life simply became so difficult that nobody could walk through it except you. And suddenly you found yourself in a place where you had no choice. You were either going to sink or you were going to discover something about yourself that you never knew existed. And here's what people don't realize. The hardest season of your life wasn't just happening to you. It was happening for you. Now I know some of you immediately resist that idea because you're thinking, Tatiana, you don't understand. I lost everything. I lost years. I lost relationships. I lost myself. And maybe you did. But what if that's not the whole story? What if what felt like destruction was actually transformation? What if what felt like loss was actually discovery? What if what felt like abandonment was actually the beginning of self-trust? Because you know what's interesting? When people tell the story of their hardest season, they almost always tell it through the lens of pain. I was broken. I was abandoned. I failed. My life fell apart. I wasted years. But here's where things start to change. What if we told the story differently? If instead of saying I was destroyed, we said I was transformed? Think about that. Because the version of you that existed before that season, the version that depended on everybody else's approval, the version that doubted themselves, the version that didn't know their own strength, that version couldn't become who you are right now. Something had to break. And maybe it wasn't you. Maybe it was the illusion. Maybe it was the illusion that someone else was coming to save you. Maybe it was the illusion that your security existed outside of yourself. Maybe it was the illusion that your value depended on other people. You know what else people say? I lost everything. Did you? Or did you finally discover yourself? Because here's what I have learned. Sometimes we don't discover who we are until everything we've built our identity around disappears. The relationship ends. The family rejects us. The job falls apart. The dream changes. And suddenly we're forced to ask ourselves a question we've been avoiding our entire lives. Who am I when nobody is telling me who to be? That's not losing yourself, you see. That's finding yourself. And that's painful. Because discovering yourself often feels exactly like losing everything you thought you needed. Most people miss this. They think falling apart means failure. But what if falling apart was actually just changing direction? What if your life wasn't ending? What if your life was redirecting? Because let's be honest, some of you watching this know exactly what I'm talking about. You thought your life was over. You thought that divorce was destroy you. You thought the betrayal destroyed you. You thought losing the house destroyed you. You thought losing the friendship destroyed you. You thought the grief destroyed you. And yet, here you are, still breathing, still fighting, still learning, still growing, still standing. Think about that. You're still here. And maybe that sounds simple, but it's not. Because there were moments you didn't think you would be. There were moments you didn't know how you were going to survive. There were moments that you sat in your car crying. Moments you stared at the ceiling. Moments you questioned everything. Moments you didn't know who you were anymore. But here's what they never expected. You figured it out. You survived. You became resourceful. You became resilient. You became stronger. And here's the part nobody talks about. Every single time you survived something you thought would destroy you, you deposited evidence into your own self-trust account. Every challenge became evidence. Every heartbreak became evidence. Every setback became evidence. Every painful season became evidence. Evidence of what? Evidence that you can trust yourself. Because now, when life gets difficult, you don't panic the way you used to. You know why? Because you've met yourself before. You've met yourself in the middle of grief. You've met yourself in the middle of heartbreak. You've met yourself in the middle of fear. You've met yourself in the middle of uncertainty. And you discovered something incredible. You discovered that you don't break as easily as you thought. You discovered that you are capable of learning things you never imagined. You discovered that you can survive things you once feared. You discovered that strength isn't something you have. Strength is something you become. And let's talk about the fire. Because that's really what the hardest season of your life was. It was fire. And nobody wants the fire. Nobody asks for the fire. Nobody prays for the fire. Because fire hurts. Fire burns. Fire destroys. But here's what people don't realize. Fire doesn't just destroy. Fire refines. Fire removes. Fire reveals. Gold goes through fire. Steel goes through fire. Diamonds are formed under pressure. And maybe, just maybe, the hardest season of your life wasn't proof that life was against you. Maybe it was proof that your life was preparing you. Because think about who you are now. You have wisdom you didn't have before. You have boundaries you didn't have before. You have confidence you didn't have before. You have discernment that you didn't have before. You have strength you didn't have before. You have faith you didn't have before. You have self-trust that you did not have before. And yes, you paid dearly for that wisdom, but nobody can take it from you now. That's the beautiful thing about suffering that transforms you. Once you become that person, Nobody can undo it. Nobody can take away the lesson. Nobody can take away the resilience. Nobody can take away the confidence. Nobody can take away the self-trust, because now you know something that changes everything. You know that if life falls apart tomorrow, you'll figure it out. Not because you're fearless, not because you're perfect, not because you're never going to struggle again, but because you've already survived what you once thought would destroy you. And that's power, real power. Not controlling other people, not controlling circumstances, not controlling outcomes, controlling your belief in yourself, trusting yourself, believing in yourself, knowing that no matter what happens, you will always find a way through. And if you're in the middle of your hardest season right now, I need you to hear me. You are not being destroyed. You are being developed. You are not falling apart. You are changing direction. You are not failing. You are preparing. You are not abandoned. You are learning self-trust. You are not broken. You are becoming. And one day you're going to look back at the season that almost destroyed you and realize something very incredible. It didn't destroy you. It introduced you to yourself. And honestly, that's exactly why I wrote my book, Phoenix, From Stability to Power. Because there comes a point where survival is no longer the goal. The goal becomes trusting yourself, owning your power, believing in your worth, and creating a future that is greater than your past. Because that's what this journey is really about. Not becoming who you were before, becoming who you were always capable of being. So I want to ask you something. What was the hardest season of your life? And what did it teach you about yourself that nobody can ever take away? Leave it in the comments. And if this message spoke to you, subscribe. Because we're not here to stay trapped in our past. We're here to reinterpret our past so that we can reclaim our future. Peace, blessings, love, and power.